Our next guest happens to be a fabulous individual. His name is Paul Lejoy, and he is the founder and principal of Pacific Realty Partners. And he has an interesting premise that it is impossible to be poor in America. Welcome, Paul.
Welcome. Thank you, Paula. Thank you. Thank you.
Listen, when I found out all about what you have going on, particularly your 8 essential elements for success, I really wanted you to share that with the audience. And before we get going, could you tell me just a little bit about yourself?
Oh, well, what would you like to know?
Well, listen, you've got such a broad, deep background. I mean, well, let's start with the fact that you are a revered real estate investor and a top business building expert. And I understand that you've earned the reputation as a motivational leader in helping others duplicate your success and create wealth. Why do you believe it's impossible to be poor in America?
Okay, since you asked me, I should talk about my background.
Okay.
I was born in a little village in Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cameroon. You probably have never heard about Cameroon, have you?
Actually, I have. I'm not an expert, but I have heard of it.
Exactly. What do you know about Cameroon?
Listen, I'm embarrassed to tell you that what I know is basically from the movies and every now and then reading an article where they would mention Cameroon. I am no expert by a long shot.
Exactly. Okay, cool. So basically, not a lot of Americans, not a lot of people around the world know about this country called Cameroon, but it's east of Nigeria. Okay, east of Nigeria. I was born in a little village called Mwambong, that nobody's heard about, and some years ago, some decades ago, maybe like 4 decades ago.
Okay.
I'm like in my 40s, okay?
All right.
So that's what's born. I was born to a single mother, not really a single mother, but a mother that the husband, just abandoned. And she had 5 children in a poor village, in a poor country in Africa, the scum of the earth, right in the face. But basically, this is where I was born because it's poor and people don't like poverty. Okay, so I was born there. So I grew up with a little bit of hardship as I was growing up. Okay, and but then that did not deter me. That did not deter me at all. I remember at one point my mother's brother, the only sister that she had. Okay, he had put us up in like a in-law quarters of his hut.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I remember vividly as a child. At some point, he said, "You guys are out of here. You guys are out of here." I'm there with my mom. My siblings were living with other people, since my mom could not really afford to feed all these 5 children. No, she said, "You guys are out of here." So my mom and myself, we had to leave this in-law quarters, and another relative in the village put us up. I remember this so vividly, as if it was yesterday. Okay, now this guy put us up in his cockroach-infested home. As a little kid, you're growing up, you wake up in the morning, you have cockroaches all over your body. This is terrible.
Wow.
Hygienic conditions were appalling. And I remember one time, it rains over there. This is the tropics, torrential rains. Torrential rains. And I remember one time, it was raining really heavily, and these are thatched homes. And you can imagine, this rain is dripping like crazy, and it's beating on our backs. And my mom was crying, and I was crying with her.
Wow.
Someday, I'm going to do something.
Okay.
Right? Okay. I'm growing up in a village, secluded from the rest of the world. Not even, I don't think you even have radio, you don't have newspapers or anything, like that. But someday I'm going to get you out of this situation. So I worked very hard. I studied very hard. You see, the village school was so far away. I was 5 years old. I had to walk miles to get to school.
Wow.
And you arrive late, 5 minutes late in school, and guess what the teacher does? Abuses you by beating you up.
What?
Yeah, you're a little kid. I mean, you walk all these 5 miles or something to go to school alone. A little kid. Most kids are scared, right? But here am I. I'm walking these many miles, and I get to school, and this guy abuses me. And I complain to my mom, say, this guy is abusing me.
Right.
And And then he said, oh, and then one day he was passing through the village, and my mom stopped him and told him what I told her, and then the guy had the audacity to say, oh, I do that to him because I love him. Really?
I don't call that love. I don't know.
No, it's not. It's not. But anyways, I worked very hard. I was able to graduate from that school, and then I went to boarding school. I mean, I actually went to secondary school, which is like junior high school over here in America, and the village, the town that I went to was bigger than the village, but it was really appalling. My first 2 years were really terrible because the hygienic conditions were really worse. They're terrible. It's like, there are no toilets over there. No toilets. So you want to go to the bathroom, and guess what? You have a pig waiting for you to do it.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Over radio in a mess.
Oh, no. You really had just a very challenging, to put it mildly, childhood. How did you go from there in Cameroon? How did you start there and end up actually being able to tell people how we can avoid failure as we aspire to achieve career success of any measure?
Right, exactly. So I gave you that background to just tell your listeners that in spite of their problems, somebody's listening right now, in spite of your problems, basically, you can overcome anything. You can overcome anything. You see, the adversity that I had as a child did not stop me. I was then able to gain a scholarship. See, I studied very hard, so I used those challenges to my advantage.
Okay.
Okay, and I was able to get a scholarship by the Cameroon government to go to England. I studied radio, film, and television production in England, and then after my graduation, my first degree, I decided to do a master's degree in international relations and economics, and that's how I came across the four dragons of East Asia, and I ended up in Taiwan. And from Taiwan, I was able to come to America, and about 5 years ago, I started, actually 5.5 years ago, I started Pacific Realty Partners. When I started Pacific Realty Partners, the economy was down the dumps, right? Really.
Uh-huh.
You know what happened? Real estate. You know what happened in 2007?
Right.
The bubble finally bust.
Right.
And then people are losing properties left and right. I live here in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, a pretty vibrant economy. But even in the Bay Area, there was foreclosures galore,
wow,
especially in Central Valley. So, but that's when I started the company. I
in the middle of the recession?
In the middle of the recession.
Wow.
It started in June 2007. I could have thrown in the towel and said, I'm out of here. I'm out of America. I'm moving back to Asia because the Asian economy is still very vibrant, and in Asia, you can achieve your American dream faster than you do here in America. And I tasted some of that. But instead of throwing the towel, this phrase, when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Right.
So it resonated with me. I'm not going to throw in the towel. Let me see what's happening today. Who are those foreclosing on the properties? Who are those sellers today? As a real estate agent, you're looking for sellers and buyers. So at that time, banks were the ones that were selling the properties. So they say, if you can't beat them, join them. So I joined the banks. That means I did not become an employee of a bank. I just decided, why don't I approach the banks and become their agent? They're the ones foreclosing on properties. So I started, how do you do that? I was fairly new in real estate. So there was this, do BPOs, broker price opinions. So I started doing the BPOs. I went from zero. I earned nothing from January 2007 to June 2007. No sales, no penny.
Wow.
But I did not throw in the towel.
Okay.
By 2009, I was a top agent for City Mortgage in the entire Northern California, selling their properties. I remember 1 month making $78,000.
But Paul,
in 1 month.
but listen. you've gone from there, not knowing anything about the industry, having to really get up to speed very quickly, middle of recession, you found an opportunity in the middle of that, and you now sit on top of a $50 million real estate business in just 7 years after immigrating to America.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
It's doable. It's doable. That's why I decided to write the book. It's impossible to be poor in America. You asked me that question. So America has all the infrastructure. Remember, when I was growing up back in Cameroon, they did not have the infrastructure. They didn't even have good roads. I didn't even have a good house.
Wow.
I had cockroaches in my house with rain, heavy rain. Here in America, the average person has a great house that they live in. They have mortgages. You don't have to even buy a property with all your money. Really, even 0.5% will buy you a house. Nowadays, basically, your mortgage can even be less than your rent.
Right.
I want to show people how. So you got every channel to be successful in America. You see, you have what? You have foundations. The Gates Foundation and all the foundations that are out there to help the average America reach their goal. You have what? You have venture capitalist firms. You have venture capital firms that are there to invest in your idea. You have angel investors who are there to invest in your idea. That's how Facebook was started. That's how Google was started. That's how YouTube was started. All these companies that I name here in the Bay Area that are movers and shakers around the world today were started because someone has an idea. Facebook, Instagram, just sharing pictures. It's impossible to be poor in America, Paula. I believe that. Some people think, my goodness, that's pretty controversial.
Right.
You're pretty bold to say that. I say yes. If you're not mentally or physically sick and you are poor in America, that means you're making $23,000 a year and your family of four, you have yourself to blame. But I'm not beating you up like the teacher beat me up. I'm just telling you I can help you make $23,000 in a month.
Well, this is one of the things that I'm hearing. I love this conversation, and I hope our listeners are really enjoying this, because what I understand that you are saying is, and you have it in your book, it's vision, it's action. Do you have a vision or a goal? It's the passion. I can hear your passion. I can hear that, and the support that you're talking about, and the integrity that you've clearly displayed, mixed with that humility. Tell me, you're now, again, you've got a $50 million empire. How do you stay humble?
Oh, really? Because I have principles. That's a good question. You have principles. I believe I came to this world naked. I'm going to go back naked, right? So basically, hey, pride comes before the fall. It's just basic principles. I follow basic principles to wealth creation, basic principles to life. If I become proud, guess what's going to happen to me? I'm going to fall. I'm going to fall, right? That's what happened to people like Saddam Hussein, right? Saddam Hussein, I'm on top of the world, right? And then he treats his people like scum, like the scum of the earth. Guess what? Those people seek to be liberated from this guy who has two eyes, one head, just like the rest of them, but treat them as if they are not human. Right? Yeah, the same thing happened to Gaddafi. Look at all these people. So I'm just an observer of life and a man of principles. Right? So you can never be proud, because the day you start being proud, that is the beginning of your fall. Yes, it is. I'm a Christian. Yes.
Paul,
Yeah, you say humble yourself before the Lord,